I have always wanted to make a tier list for like a long time now, and in today's video we're gonna be ranking every single soul crushing in the entire game. At least, wait, when was this released?
Hello everybody, my name's Markiplier and today we'll place a C5.
Alright, so I got a different one now, and apparently there are some towers here that I do not know. I guess it's time to start rating, I don't know. So disclaimer, this is definitely not gonna be accurate, but I'm just gonna go and see how it goes, go along it. So let's go ahead and start with Thanos Tower. And I have a lot of experience on the nerfed version, on the unnerfed version, but the nerfed version has a lot of fixes and it is a little bit less boring. But I'm just gonna try to rank it C tier. Honestly, there's nothing abysmal about this tower anymore. They nerfed pretty much every choke point that I had before. Now it's not that bad anymore. Like, there isn't much choke points anymore. The tower crossing I remember is a lot better, and you know, floor 8 is a lot better, and pretty much everything is a lot better. But the tower itself, why it can't get a high rating, it's just, come on, you cannot change how boring the first floors are. Still, it goes in the C tier in my opinion. It's probably average now. Tower difficulty chart, like, a lot of people overrate it for the wrong reasons, and a lot of people underrate it for the wrong reasons. And I mean, like, B or A tier, I think I'm gonna just put it in A tier. It really executes a safety net really well, and it's also not to a point where you're forced to stay in the tower because, you know, you're in a safety net. You're gonna lose a lot of progress if you leave. You're just losing the first half, which is like, overall, it's a very good first soul crushing. And I mean, there are a little bit of balancing issues, but I usually just tend to get around like the difficulty spikes. A lot of people say the trust section sucks, but it was never inconsistent for me. Honestly, sometimes the second half is overhated, in my opinion. If you hate this tower, you're probably just grinding it and you just probably had a horrible experience on Terrifying. And you probably even failed Catastrophic, the free floor, a few times. I'm just gonna put it at A tier. It's a pretty decent tower. Tower of Mind Breaking. Honestly, I would rank it A or B tier if it wasn't for, well, the thing about this tower is it gets its difficulty from difficulty spikes. And trust me when I say it's a lot less fun than it looks. Or, not really a lot, but it's less fun than it looks. It's better than Thanos Tower, in my opinion, because at least the first few floors are interesting a little bit. But it is not really a good tower to grind, in my opinion, because the first few floors are actually really hard, and the second floors are loop fail and inconsistency heaven. Like, there are a lot of difficulty spikes on this tower, and it makes loop failing pretty annoying. It's not a good grinding experience. You know, the learning aspect is definitely not going to take as much time as the consistency aspect, even if it looks like a learny tower. Just because there's a lot of jumps that are just really annoying or really inconsistent. Tower of Confusion. Need I say less? A tier. What I hate about towers, and it might be a trend for future SCs, but I really hate towers that are even first half or second half heavy. I tried JToH, and it's a first half heavy tower. It just sucks to play a first half heavy tower. For me, it's like B tier, because the difficulty, the first half heavy gameplay isn't hard gameplay that's like terrifying. It's thin studs, and it's also conveyors, unmarked conveyors. It's really learny. It's not good. It's not consistent. It doesn't have design, and like, I mean, creativity is kind of there, but it's just not good. To its credit, the reason why it's not F tier is because, I mean, it gets consistent sometimes. The first 3 floors can get pretty darn consistent, but having to play the first few floors a ton just so that you can get consistent and get progress in this tower, that's just buttload. I don't want to deal with that. So I'm just gonna put it at A tier. It's a pretty good placement. Tower of Inception. I don't even need to play this tower to know that it sucks. I think there are like 5 out of 30 people getting mad over me putting it F tier because I didn't play it. But the 25 that also play the tower definitely hate it. It's thin studs. First half very boring. And this thing is second half heavy. Wow, boring first floor, second half heavy with thin studs and difficulty spikes and just fairly annoying gameplay. It's just the actual gameplay, the actual non-thin stud gameplay is still annoying. This tower has nothing good. This tower, I mean, it looks cool, okay? But like, that's it. It looks decently cool. And that's it. Why would I put it to E tier? Cause it has good design. That's not what soul crushings are for. They're not a fashion show. It's all about the enjoyability and gameplay, man. And this tower just fails at that. Absolutely. I'm gonna be clearing out my throat a lot, so there's like cuts. Because my throat doesn't sound that good right now, but I'm gonna be real with you. I don't have much Icy Blizzard experience. I didn't even watch some of Icy Blizzard. It looked like a B to C tier for me. Probably because of the inconsistencies, just a C tier. Tower of Frightening Nightmares. Oh boy, second half heavy. Boring first floor again. Frightening Nightmares is just, well, it's better than Confusion in my opinion. Because, I mean, second half heavy, at least you can make fairly decent progress. You can like fluke it, I guess. Like, it's a lot more flukeable, which, to be honest, but it's a mental strife. And it doesn't also have the loop fail conundrum where you keep loop failing the same thing because it's not punching enough. So basically it's just about practice and nerve control, and yeah. It's also gonna be like the worst experience for a lot of people, and I understand that, but I think I'm just gonna put it E tier because pretty much you can say that about anything. You can say Tower Generation Failure is F tier because you had the worst experience on it. So Tower of Unsettling Heights, I have a lot of experience on this, but I don't have a lot of experience in grinding it. I've always all jumped it in CSCD, like literally just to practice, so I'm just gonna put it at not much experience. But Wicked Fortress, I don't even know this tower too. It's in like the practice place, but I also don't know. So now it's time for Tower Strategic Mechanics, and from what I can tell, it is a, well, second half heavy tower. Woo! Holy there are so many second half heavy towers. It's insane, bruh. Second half heavy, first half heavy. Guys, second half heavy. I'm just gonna have to put it at D tier. The difference between Inception and this is that there are actual gameplay that honestly at times is actually pretty satisfying to nail. I don't really want to complain about the first half in my opinion. It's actually decently fun. You have to do it a lot, yeah, and it's gonna get tedious, and that's why it's not even C tier. But yeah, again, second half heavy. It's a second half heavy tower, guys. What do you expect? I mean, again, it's just a fancier, more creative, better gameplay version of like Inception. Tower of Impossible Movement. This one, I'm gonna put it in D tier. Yeah, a lot of you guys probably expected E tier, but I'm gonna put it D tier. Some parts just decide to be absolutely nerve-wracking. Some parts are absolutely horrible. Playing this tower, legit. I mean, I got to like floor 6 and then failed off cam. And I can kind of just predict the rest of the grind. And let me just tell you, it's not as bad as Frightening Nightmares. It's a lot more consistent, in my opinion. It's crazy. A tower like this, more consistent than Frightening Nightmares. At least in this tower, like, most of the gameplay isn't first or second half heavy. There can be a debate on which half is harder, but it's not gonna be by a landslide, I'm pretty sure. Well, I think it's second half heavy actually, but not by as much as Frightening Nightmares. You have a few nerve-wracking inconsistent jumps, but it's not really enough for me to call it E tier in my opinion. So I'm just gonna put Impossible Movement a little bit higher. Extreme Hell. Honestly, I'm gonna like try and place this while I can. Let's just say the bad first. And as the conveyors, I mean, they're pretty bad. That's all I have to say. The conveyors are bad. That's it. The rest of the tower is kind of, I mean, I'm gonna just tell you, it's a 1-year anniversary. What date is it today? You might be asking. January 1. I beat this January 1. I beat Extreme Hell January 1, if you guys didn't know. And it's January 1. Right now, it's January 1. It's New Year's. I'm recording this stupid video in New Year's, so please, if I make opinions, please have mercy. It's New Year's, please. For me, I mean, it's a second half heavy tower-ish. This tower is like inconsistent, kind of like impossible movement. But this time difficulty comes from the conveyors, in my opinion. They're pretty harsh, and there's also a lot of unconventional mechanics. Like this tower is gonna feel so much different from other towers to the point where it's not really a good skill booster, but if you can handle it, then I guess it kinda deserves D tier. It's not like, there is some design, there is some creativity, I mean like some, it's actually, there is creativity to be, I think it here is a good spot. Next tower, Terrifying Beauty, C tier. It's the definition of average. Good creativity, good design, below average gameplay. That's Terrifying Beauty for me. It's gonna be a little bit annoying, but C tier, it goes. Elongated runs, I don't have much experience. I cannot rate this tower. So now it's time for Tower of Suffering Outside. I think I have enough experience on this tower to rank it. And it's a second half heavy tower. Oh my god. And it's fully outside, but it has one of the most fun first halves. It's one of the more fun towers if I'm on a good day. If I don't have bad luck, like just average luck, I would have fun. I'd actually have fun. This is one of those few towers where I think I can have concrete fun in playing. It's just unbalanced, and it's fully outside is very nerve-wracking. And it's just like, it's not also a fun experience, but for some it could be. I just had like a lot of fun grinding this, but I just feel this second half will ruin it for me. So I'm just gonna put it top of C tier. It's better than Terrifying Beauty in my opinion, but again, second half heavy on and out, fully outside tower. I don't think you can kind of redeem that, don't you think? I don't know how you redeem that. Tower of Externalizing Insanity. Ooh, this is interesting because I spent a long time on this tower. This is one of my longest grinds in JToH. And I think I have enough right to put it at our first B tier. Yes, Tower of Externalizing Insanity is not F tier. It's not A tier, it's not S tier. It's B tier. Honestly, the raps get very boring very soon. And they're really hard. They're really hard. Like, for a peak, even a peak extreme, these are really hard. The thing is, this is a netted tower. Very netted. But that leaves for a lot of chain fails. It leaves for a lot of chain fails, a lot of hours being spent on this tower. And you know, the first half is, I guess, like quite tedious to play through. It's quite tedious. You know what? The first half was so tedious to play through, I don't even want to rank it that high. Just because the first half is tedious, second half is even more tedious, and it's gonna be pretty infuriating. There's not a single, like, there is fun in some areas, but like for example, floor 9, outside nets. I love those. I love those. Floor 10, also pretty fun. And you know, third floor even for me is fun. Even the fourth floor and the mini net sections and even floor 5 is really adrenaline. It's just ruined by the first 2 floors and you know, just the net, honestly. So I have to put a C tier. We still haven't had one B tier yet, guys. Let's hope Ring 9 changes that, right? So in order to where to place it, I wanted to put it in this top C tier because there's a lot of good in this tower. The atmosphere is absolutely amazing. It's just, again, when you actually grind it, it's not what it looks like. So I can't put it higher than C tier. I'm sorry, guys, but it is the best C tier by far. Generation Failure. It's the best tower in fuck no. I'm gonna put it in not much experience. I don't know about Generation Failure. But if you want my opinion, don't take it, okay? Don't take it as I know this tower, or don't take it as a valid opinion, please. I'm just gonna, from my knowledge, okay? From my knowledge of this tower, honestly, it ranks below Frightening Nightmares. It's not F tier. It's not elongated runs, in my opinion. There's creativity, there's design, there's still even good gameplay that exists in this tower. The first few floors are actually somewhat fun for me, but again, it's E tier because you already know it. The spheres, floor 6, the outsides, the GBJs. You already know why this is E tier. So I'm just gonna put it at that because they still all are BS to me. So they're not just BS to you guys, they're also BS to me. Tower of High Adrenaline. Honestly, this tower is another C tier. Honestly, so I'm gonna like put it here because this is where I'm leaning towards. I'm not leaning towards this, I'm leaning towards this. Honestly, floor 6 and 7 outside, it feels like TOE, which I'm gonna get to later, where you're so consistent at the earlier floors, where it got so consistent at the earlier floors, that it just ruins the tower for me. You can get really consistent at the first few floors, but that would make loop failing 7 to 8 outside very common. You're gonna be stuck in this loophole. We're gonna keep failing that over and over again. In my experience, that didn't happen, but it happened to another tower that I probably already mentioned. For some people, this can be an absolutely horrible experience. And the next part, the last 2 floors, oh god. I just don't like it when towers mess with punishment a lot, because it's not gonna end out well for them. And that's certainly not what's gonna happen here. It's not gonna end well for High Adrenaline. I'm gonna put it D tier. I think above Extreme Hell is a good place to put it. Tower of Band Trauma is the definition of overrated and underrated. Yeah, similar to Tower Definition Chart, this tower can get high praises for being just being a really good soul crushing. And a lot of people also just underrated, put it D tier, call it the most overrated thing in the game because of how inconsistent it is. And for me, grinding this thing was really tedious. So first off, atmosphere, everything that even matters about like creativity, just don't even bother with me changing my mind about it being one of the best in the soul crushing. But the grinding experience just makes it B tier. I'm not even joking. The grinding experience just ruins it. It's final stretch heavy. Oh god, final stretch heavy. It's the exact same phenomenon as I said in High Adrenaline, where you can get so consistent on the other floors that you're not gonna have nerves anymore when you're gonna be in the final stretch, which will cause you to fail it a crap ton of time because it is the hardest thing in the tower. You're gonna fail it a lot. And this has a lot of inconsistent jumps that they can't be justified, honestly. I can't just justify it because it has the best design, best creativity in the world, but you gotta admit, the gameplay is tedious, but at sometimes it's a masterpiece. At some point, I just can't put it even C tier. It's just, it just doesn't do it justice for how good it is. It's just a pain in the ass to grind, in my opinion. Tower of Curve Descent, need I say less, S tier. Am I sarcastic? Yeah, because I didn't play it much. I don't think I didn't even play Curve Descent. Tower of Frightening and Confusing Trial. So, this tower also has a final stretch. I hate these final stretches, bro. But unlike the few final stretches that I kept failing, I don't think I failed it. I spent less than 2 hours on this tower though. So, I beat it unlike Tower of Suffering Outside, but I have less experience than Tower of Suffering Outside. I can't identify how its weaknesses or really what's the worst part of the grind because I just fluked everything. So honestly, I think it's a C tier. It's the definition of C tier. It's average. It has above average gameplay in some parts. It has creativity for sure, but also has below average gameplay and feel in some parts. I think it's just average, honestly. It's not bad. It's not good either. I'm gonna put it, yeah, I'm sorry. So this is where I'm gonna place it. So it's time for Tower of Bloodthirsty Kinos, and it's E tier, or D tier, or E tier, or D tier. That's where I'm gonna put it. D tier. Honestly, some parts, yeah, it is possible for Bloodthirsty Kinos to get really consistent. And if I were to like relearn everything I had with this tower, and put a little bit more knowledge into how to do some jumps, I would say this is really consistent. But as I said before, even if the earlier floors are really consistent, that's even worse because you're gonna have no nerves on the final stretch, and it's going to cause a massive amount of chain fails. I failed the final stretch 6 times. I'm not the kind of guy to fail final stretch 6 times, but I have in the Bloodthirsty Keynotes, just because of how consistent I got on the first floors. I took longer to beat Bloodthirsty Keynotes than I took to beat Alien Radiance. That's how unlucky I got in this tower, but hey, you know what? It's fine, it's whatever. So now it's time for nervous winning. I don't have much experience. I'm also don't have much experience on any of these. So this video is kind of long as it is already, and it's taking me like a damn long time to edit, so I'm just gonna leave it at part 1, honestly. I'm not even sure if this video will do well, so if this video gets enough support, like for example like 10,000 views or something, that's a really steep view count, but I mean like I reached it before and it's taking like a lot of time. I don't even know if I can edit the second half of this, so I guess let's get some motivation first. But for now, I hope you enjoyed the first tier list I'm ever gonna make. Yeah, it is my first tier list, and like I hope you enjoy. It's like 10 p.m. right now. It's not that late, but whoever cares. I'll see you in the next episode, I guess, or most likely the next video, where I'll probably be editing my toem completion. So yeah, enjoy.